Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all on day two of AICT approved 6 days ATAL FDP on unlocking educator potential, essential data analytics skills, and applications in business management. Before starting with session one of day two, I would like to remind you certain instructions. Feedback forms will be circulated after each session in the WhatsApp group as well as via email. The forms will remain open till 10 p.m. Google Form for marking attendance will be shared for each day during the session in WhatsApp group. Assessment link will be enabled for only those with having more than 80% attendance. Minimum 70% marks in assessment is required for the FDB certificate. I hope these instructions are clear to everyone. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Priya Shetty for session one of day two. The topic of session one of day two is data visualization using Power BI. Ms. Priya Shetty is the co-founder of Project Guru, a research and analytics firm based in Gurugram since 2012. Over the last 10 years, she has helped companies, banks, academic institutions, and independent researchers write and publish their papers using a range of research tools like SPSS, Stata, meta-analysis, and NVivo. She also manages Project Guru's YouTube channel, where she speaks about research tips, data analysis, and machine learning. Over to you, ma'am. You can start. Unmute yourself. I've made
Okay.
you co-host.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, back here. I hope you all attended my session last night and also the first session because that's going to be very helpful for today's session of ours. As Mr. Gaurav already introduced, that I'm going to talk about an application called Power BI today. And I'm sure he has shared the link for installation of the software with all of you. So I hope you have all, at least some of you have downloaded the software already so that we can reserve more time for actually conducting the analysis on the software, learning what the software can do instead of spending time on downloading, installation and everything. If you have downloaded the software and installed it, it would be I recommend that you also log in over there using your Microsoft ID, so that whatever data you are creating, whatever analysis you are creating, you're able to save the report or even collaborate. If you want to share the file with somebody, then you can also collaborate with them. And that will only be possible if you have logged into Power BI. If not, then it's fine because today is just going to be an introductory session for Power BI. So let me start my presentation. Before I start, I would like to tell all of you that this is a hands-on session, and I would really recommend that you all perform the analysis as I'm showing you the steps. Gaurav sir has also shared the data set with all of you, I hope. So please download that data set if you haven't already done that, because we are going to be working on that data set today. And um, whatever questions you have, please save it for the end of the session. I will keep aside 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how much time we have left, just for Q&A. And whatever doubt you have, I will take them up at the end of the session. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to share my screen for the session. Okay. Introducing myself again. I am Priya Chetty. I'm the co-founder of Project Guru. I have been into the business of analytics for the last 15 years. And over the years, I've developed a forte in different kinds of application and different kinds of data sets. So what are we going to learn today? Our foundation of today's session is going to be Power BI, of course, but the application is quite vast, to be honest. There is so much you can do in Power BI that it is impossible to cover everything in one single session, that too of 1.5 hours. So I'm going to keep it basic. I'm going to keep it simple. We're going to cover a little bit of everything of Power BI, except the part of collaboration or sharing your file. Another element which we are going to skip today, which I will come to in the second or the third slide of the session. And I will also explain why we are skipping that today, right? But we are going to cover all the basics today, like how to create visualization and how to calculate the basic functions using Power BI. Right. First, we're going to see the significance of data. Now, significance of data, Dr. Anjali had already explained in our yesterday session. If you all remember, she had explained a lot about what is unstructured data, what is structured data, how do we analyze it, how do we approach this kinds of data, right? So I'm not going to delve too deep into the significance of data. We are going to focus more on the elements that Power BI is very good at, which is analytics and reporting. Uh, Next is installing Power BI. I hope all of you have installed it. Even if not, I will give you a small demonstration of how to install Power BI. Please do that quickly on your system. It shouldn't take you more than a minute to do that. Next is how to connect a data set. That means when you open Power BI interface, it's going to be a blank window, just like opening a Word file, just like opening a Excel file, right? When we open it, there's just a blank window and we feed data or we feed information into those windows, right? Same way, Power BI, when you open it, it is blank. So we are going to see how we can connect different sources of data to Power BI, where it can automatically import or sync the data, right? Then how to transform data in Power BI. So transform, I would say, is a fancy word here. Basically, it means how to process data in normal language, in the language that we are used to, right? In academia, we call it data processing. हम उसको data processing कहते हैं. In Power BI, we give it a more fancy word called transforming data. That because many outside academia are not familiar with what is processing of data. Then we have normalizing the data. This is a more technical word, and we will come to the part of why we are normalizing our data set and how do we normalize our data set. What does normalizing mean? Then adding relationship. This is one interactive feature which I personally like about Power BI because this is not something that is available on other applications. Building relationship between two variables very simply. In other applications, we have to run some complex tests like correlation, regression. These are all complex tests, advanced level tests, right? But in Power BI, you do not have to perform those tests to build a relationship between two data sets. You can build a relationship like a conceptual framework. I'm sure you're all familiar with the element conceptual framework, right? We show how different variables in a particular study are interacting with each other and what is the final outcome that it is leading to. Same way, we create relationships in Power BI dynamically. And then we are going to study how to create charts, which is the most important feature of Power BI. Power BI is because honestly, we were all tired of MS Excel. We were all tired of generating, to be honest. It couldn't take more data and it wasn't dynamic enough and it needed a lot of hand holding processing. So we all got tired. I feel somewhere we all got tired, and that's why we are so welcoming to Power BI. Right. So we are going to learn that very critical feature of how to visualize data in Power BI. Simply put, it means how to create pie charts, bar graphs, and all in Power BI. And then we are going to learn how to create a new measure in Power BI. That means a new calculation. Uh, it means doing calculations on the fly. When you need it, you put the calculation. When you don't need it, it disappears. So it's just there for that particular moment. So we are going to see how to do that using Power BI. And lastly, filtering in charts. Very simple. We all familiar with the concept of filtering. That means segmenting basically and making the visual reveal what you want it to reveal. That's it. So these are the main core things for Power BI that we are going to review today. All right. Starting off with what is data and why we use data. Now, like I said yesterday, Anjali ma'am covered quite a bit about the technical elements of data and what forms of data do we have today. So I will skip to the more, relatable element about data. Like humans are driven by their gut. Okay, our decisions are primarily, we are primitive creatures and we are heavily dependent on our gut for making decisions. We we tend to, tend to use our instincts a lot before we take any decision. Our brain somehow makes information secondary, and we put our gut or our instinct at the forefront when we are making decision. That is the core thing that makes us separate from, say, plants. So it doesn't mean that information is not useful. It just means that we are not used to using the information and making the most of it. Now we are all connected on the web, right? All of us are connected, interconnected. Every person around the globe is connected today. So the lot of information that is getting connected and built today has to be put to some use. And the more data that keeps on collecting, the more you will see that different types of applications will emerge. Even in the future, that is going to keep happening. So decision making is the primary reason why we have applications like Power BI today. Then we have benchmarking. That means when you want to track progress of any specific thing over time, we use benchmarking, we use reporting, right? So this is like a time series analysis. Again, another technical term. Time series analysis basically means tracking progress over time. Time. That's the key here. So when we want to benchmark, like where I was 5 years ago and where I am today, you need that kind of information, which is very simple using such applications. And then we have visualization, which I already explained. It is much more pleasing to the eye to see charts than to read numbers, right? If I give you a Excel sheet of which has 1 million entries, who is going to like to go through each and every column, each and every row? Nobody has the time to do that. Nobody has the patience to do that. I would simply prefer to have it in the form of a visual, right? And then efficiency, of course, the faster my application is of processing data, the more efficient the more efficiently I'm able to use my time. So that is one of the core purposes of analyzing data today. Now, today to explain you why we are using Power BI. Now, there is something called analytics, where there are better application, of course, but Power BI primarily does the analysis part for us, and then also reporting. Then we also have, exploration of data, and then putting it in the form of a report. I think I will be able to explain it better in the form of a mind map because if some of you have attended yesterday, you'd remember that I had used mind maps yesterday to show you some features or neural network, right? So let me create a similar mind map today and show you what I exactly mean. I'm going to create a basic mind map today also. So our central element is data. Data is at the center of everything today. In fact, that's the reason you're all attending this session also. Now, the purpose of data or what we do with data is first we explore. Secondly, data can be analyzed. So analysis is one of the features of data. Then we have inference. That means after I've done my analysis, how do I infer the result? That is the most critical part which many of us even today struggle with. हम application सीख जाते हैं. We know how to use applications, how to run a test, but we don't know how what to make of the results, right? And then finally we have results. So these are the core four features of data, or rather what we can do with data. Now, yesterday I took a very practical example for you all. I showed you how to create a business plan. It's a practical thing because we create business plans in our practical world, right? Somebody who's looking for a side hustle want to create a business plan. Today, I'm going to take a more academic example because we are all in the field of academia and we would want something we can probably relate to a little bit more. So in the world of academia, we all come up with topics for research. That's the purpose of academia, that's to further research, right? But research cannot just happen at the, at a thought. There is a process and there is a very systematic, there's a systematic process that goes behind research. There's a lot of effort that goes behind research. And at the core or at the foundation of it is a research topic. If you don't have a convincing topic or if you don't have convincing problem in your mind, there is no way that you can come out with very lucrative outcomes or insightful outcomes. Because if the problem is not been has not been defined well, you will not have clarity going forward. That is where data exploration part comes in. In the world of academia, listing data, right? So when I explore data, it can be maybe to find problems. What exactly is the problem that I want to study? So I'm going to explore secondary data to find the problem or to deduce patterns. Now, it's not necessary that there is a problem in the market, right? Maybe there's no problem, but I just want to deduce existing patterns and test if it still is valid. If there was a pattern which was found 25 years ago. Now, in 25 years, millennials are no more in vogue. We are in Gen Z now, right? So if I want to see that what applied to millennials, is it applying to Gen Z or not? So I need to test that pattern. I'm not going to find a new pattern. I'm not going to find a new problem. I'm just going to deduce the pattern and test it. Now, when it comes to analysis, do I need to manipulate data? Or do I need to process data? Data manipulation comes, it depends on the researcher, honestly. Data manipulation can come in small forms or it can even happen in bigger forms. Now, manipulation is nothing but churning the data to make it more suitable for your kind of problem, right? It can be, so how are you going to analyze it? Are you going to manipulate that data or are you simply going to process? How do we process data? Maybe you change the scale or that you have used for your survey or your interview, or maybe you change the variable entirely, or you rerun the test on a different data set, right? So these are all the processes of types of processing, or you work more on the data to remove errors, right? And then we come to inference, a very critical part and very underrated part, in my opinion, where you want to maybe conclude the outcome or you want to predict. What is your inference and how do you want to put it, predict the problem? And then finally, we have presentation, which comes in the form of reports and visuals. So these are all the practical uses of data in academia. This is how we use data in research or in academic field. Coming back to our problem. Now, the keyword that we must remember about analytics is that it can do predictive. It can be predictive in nature. So prediction is different, prescription is different, simple analysis depends on my goal. Then it is future oriented. Of course. Then interpretation is the same as inference. You discover, you strategize, you want exploratory data or deductive data. And data mining is a very important part. Where do you get that data from? In today's example, I'm going to show you that we have mined the data from secondary database, a government website, same as the one which I was talking about yesterday. So we have mined data from the government website or a government report for our analysis, right? So where are you mining the data from? Forecasting, recommendation, and optimization. You're all aware of all these keywords. Then the keywords to remember in reporting are historical data. It is based on historical data. If you don't have historical data, there is no way that you can create a report. What will your report consist of? It will be very shallow. Then you have to summarize the events. Then it can be descriptive in nature. It can be structured data or aggregated charts, tables, questions, performance, dashboard, information, and retrospective. Dashboards, I hope you're all familiar with. Dashboards is nothing but a centralized page where all your inputs or all your analysis is displayed. Like in one page, you can know what is the situation of a company, or what is the situation of your report or a particular process. That's called a dashboard. And then more keywords, exploring data, analytics can be also. So this is a very common misconception that data analytics only involves analysis of data. That is a misconception, like I said. Data analysis is not just used for analysis. Analytics can be applied even for exploring the data. What is exploring? When you have a specific goal in mind, you don't have an intended outcome, but you're just playing around with the data set, hoping that you can come up with something. That is called exploration. You're just digging for something and you don't know what you're going to find. Now, there are not many applications that will help you do that, but Power BI helps us do that. That is why I feel personally, and you will not find this anywhere else, this information that I'm about to share with you. I feel personally that Power BI is more useful in exploration of data sets rather than analysis of data sets. That is what sets it apart from the other applications we have in the market like SPSS, and we have Python, we have R. That comes later on when we already have the problem in our mind. We already have the data set in our hands, and we just want to find patterns from it now, or we just want to predict something from it. Then we come to those kind of applications. But when we don't have that data itself, or when we don't have a hypothesis itself, then we come to an application like Power BI and hope and pray that I can come up with something using Power BI. So that is very important feature of analytics, that you can explore data using analytical applications. And then we have summarizing, which is the last part, which is also something Power BI is very good at, summarizing of information so that you can put it directly in your report. That's all. All right, let's get started. So you can has not downloaded Power BI application yet. Please do that right away. This is the process. I'm going to show you what the interface looks like. Please open Power BI on your system, the website on your system, and if you haven't downloaded it, then visit the Microsoft website, download it for your system, and just and for those who have already downloaded it, please open the application that will come. Now, when you click on the application, it will ask you whether you want to create a blank report from somewhere. Create a blank report for now because I want to show you some things that happen or that you should probably be aware of before you start working on Power BI. So let me also open Power BI on my system. So when you download or open Power BI, it's going to look like this. Now here, you need to click on blank report. When you open the application, please click on blank report. Now this is what the panel will look like, or the UI will look like. And what we have here is, this is where all the action takes place. So whatever changes I'm making to my data set or whatever visuals I'm creating, this is where it all gets displayed. On the right side, we have something called that's the right pane. This is where you uh, where you click the buttons so that the action can take place, right? This is where you enter the commands. We have different kinds of visuals. So this is called build a visual. And then this one, we will see this will actually be used when we actually create a visual. Until then, this is dormant, I would say. And then this is the main ribbon. Uh, it doesn't look like much, but there is a lot going on in the backend. I promise you, this is this panel. Then we have this visual view, that is means a report view. All the visuals get generated here. Then we have something called as table view. So whenever we import a data set, it gets imported in the form of a table and then it gets displayed here. Here we have a model view. That means when we build a relationship between two variables, the visual comes over here. And then we finally have the DAX query view. We do not generally open this. Even when we are entering a DAX command, we do not open this. We can directly do that in the table view or when we transform the data set. All right, so let's begin with a data set. Now, Gaurav sir has already shared the data set with you. Please download it to Power BI. How do we do that? We go to File, Get Data. When you go to get data, you get different options. Now, only one of this is Excel workbook, but look at all the other options. These are nothing but different data warehouses. Warehouses means where the data or information is getting collected. Now you must all have your platform. Then we have web option, means social media or any other external application can be connected. These are all connectors. That means when you connect your Power BI file to any kind of warehouse, the data gets dynamically imported into your dashboard. That means in Excel, where we have to manually, in most cases, we have to manually enter the data, keep processing it every time. That is not how it works with Power BI. I simply need to connect it to some application, external application, and it dynamically imports the data in real time. That means I don't have to do anything except open Power BI and it gets automatically updated. The syncing happens in the backend, right? So this is the different, these are the different connectors to Power BI. The part which I wanted to show you today was how to connect it to a secondary report like a PDF. I'm going to show you the PDF we are going to use today. This is, yeah, analysis of budgeted expenditure on education. This is something we used yesterday, Ministry of Education, Department of Higher Education in 2022. This is available on the Ministry of Education's website. Anybody can download it from there. Now, when we scroll down to this report, anyone who has worked with this kind of secondary data will know how difficult it is to keep importing such figures into an Excel. Now, what is this doing exactly? If you want to process this information somehow for your own report, what do you need to do? You need to type it. A normal person would type it into Excel, and then they would make inferences from it or run analysis on it. But if you use an application like Power BI, it takes about half an hour, 1 hour. You need to invest the time in the beginning. But all this information gets imported automatically into Power BI in the form of tables. I do not even need to type anything. I just need to structure the data in Power BI when I'm importing it, and it remembers it every time I needed to perform a new data set. Like in this one, there for me to manually sit and type everything. Why would I do that, right? So I can simply connect it to Power BI, train Power BI on analysis I want in it. So I wanted to show you this process today, but like I said, that alone would have taken me an hour. So we are going to skip that part today. Probably if we have another session sometime, then I can teach you how to do that. Okay, so we are going to import an Excel workbook, the data set that you all have. Please select it and import it into Power BI. Now you will come across this window where it is asking you whether you want to select any one sheet out of it or all the sheets. Now this is the data set which I have, which I'm trying to import. It has three different sheets. The file itself has three different sheets. One is for expenditure on university education, scholarships. We all know that the government disburses some amount. Every state government disburses some amount for kids scholarships, undergrad degree, postgrad degree, scholarships hote hain, and then we get the amount disbursed, right, to university. This is the data of uh, disbursements taken place for university, which they call it as expenditures for scholarship. Now, the data for 2019-20 is actual, but 2021 is revised estimate and 21-22 is the budget estimate. Next, we have level-wise outturn. This is the same thing that I had told you yesterday, that how much percentage of all the people who have appeared for the exams are from different levels. Like undergrad levels consist of 72% outturn. Postgrad is only 16%. So quickly, what I can infer from this is that as the level of education goes higher, the pass out grade decreases. The rate of passing out decreases, and there is a huge gap between undergrad and postgrad. Just see, there is 72% people from undergrad level, but from postgrad there are only 16% students, right? So the gap is huge in this case. Then we have level-wise enrollment in universities. Enrollment means, of course, how many students are enrolled. Now here we have the different years and we have the numbers here as per gender and level. So this is the data which I'm trying to import. Now I want to import all of these. So please click on all these three check boxes and you will click on transform data because the data set is not perfect. I need to do some processing on it. So when I know that I want to do some processing, I will click on transform. But when I know I don't want to do any processing, I will go to load. So we are going to click on transform data. Right. So what exactly am I trying to do here? What is my research problem? So first of all, like I said, I'm still looking for a research problem. That is why I'm doing Power BI. I don't know what the problem is, right? But I'm hoping that I can find some pattern in this data set which I have, which I can create a research report out of. Maybe I want to publish a paper, or maybe I simply want to take up a pet project which I want to, continue with my colleague. But I don't have a core problem in my hand yet. So how do I make the best of the information that I have to come up with the problem? I can build a relationship between enrollment and scholarships to see how scholarship amount are affecting the enrollment rate in different states, right? Maybe I can do that, or maybe I can say I'm comparing enrollment to the. So there are different things I could do with the data set, but for now I'm just going to play around with my data set because I don't have a core problem in my mind. Now, like I said, I anticipate that I'm going to have to do some processing. Now, from the first glance, I think I failed to import one data set. So let me quickly. Yeah, I did not import one sheet. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to import from an Excel workbook. On all the three boxes and transform data. Yeah, now I have all the three sheets here. Uh, Quickly on the top of it, what I can see is that let me see how the data is organized, first of all. In the first sheet, I have the names of all the states and the year-wise data, that is how much expenditure happened for each state for different years is on the columns, right? In my second sheet, I have the years in columns, sorry, in the rows, and the variable in the columns. And in my third sheet, I again have year in the column and the variable in the rows. So I can see that there is a mismatch here. My data is not properly organized, right? कहीं पे year column में है, कहीं पे row में. Sure that it is organized in a uniform manner. Otherwise, it is very difficult for any software, any application for that matter, no matter how advanced it gets, it's very difficult for them to form a relationship when the format itself is very different, right? So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Now, there are other things which we have to take care of here. Like I can see that there is a column with null value. Then you right click on the column 5 and you remove. Again, right click on column and remove. This happens a lot in Power BI, especially when you're importing from Excel. Uh, Sometimes it's not exactly showing what the Excel is showing. So in that case, we need to do such processing. This is all a part of data processing. All right, so now we have the unwanted columns removed. Now, the data type, as you all are aware of, data अलग-अलग types के होते हैं. One can be numeric, some data can be text data, some data can be mixed data, like you have F5, 6, 7, 8. So this has text as well as digits. So in our case, it's very important to ensure that everything is in text format, or sorry, everything is in the proper format, so that when I'm running the analysis on Power BI, it can recognize that there is a pattern here again, that this is numeric data. It needs to know, think of Power BI as a child, right? You need to feed it information for, okay? So now I need to feed the information that this is numeric data, this is text data. How do I, let's see what type it is. It is text. It is already in text. So I'm right click on it, change type, and now here you see there is nothing selected. That's because the column has text as well as numbers. So I will change it to a whole number. Please do that as I'm showing you. Right click on the top row of the name of the column. Click on change type and whole number. Again, right click, change type and whole number. Right, so this is done. Now I'm through with some part of my modification processing right now. Now, and able to see 0 in the Power BI sheet. Now here, see, there is an error here. That means it's not able to understand what exactly this cell should contain. It has no number, but it's not blank either. Okay, so we need to make sure that such errors are removed. How do we do that? You right click, remove errors. Or you can even, if you want to be more accurate about it, you go to replace errors instead of removing error. So enter the value which will replace error. That means wherever error is coming, replace replace it with a value so that it becomes aligned with the other blank cells. Wherever there is no number, like here, I'm going to right click and again replace errors, not remove errors. Sorry, I'm going to replace it with 0. Right click, replace errors with 0. Okay, now my data is more or less in aligned format. In the same format, like I said, here the year are in column, but here and here the years are in the rows. Right? So let us quickly put it in the correct format. Now, how do you do that? Now, outturn is only for 1 year, so there is not much I can do here. I'm going to primarily work on level-wise enrollment. How do we do that? We do not want to make any changes to our master sheet. Always remember that whenever you want to process from the master sheet, do not touch the master sheet. You're going to right click here where it says queries. Select the first sheet, which is expenditure on university education. Right click and click on reference. We are going to reference this file. We could have done duplicate, but in that case, it could not have related the two files. It is very important that Power BI understands that, okay, this has to be referred to from here. So that whatever changes are happening gets imported from the server, whatever data warehouse we are connecting it to. So whenever any dynamic changes take place over there, Power BI has to know that this sheet is referred to that sheet. So the changes have to reflect in the other sheet also. So we are going to reference it. And let's say I'm going to unpivot this data. Unpivoted expenditure. Likewise, I'm going to reference the enrollment data and I'm going to name it unpivoted level-wise enrollment. Now we come here. Now, what am I trying to do is we're going to pivot this because I want to bring all the years here. Unpivot, you right click on you select the first column and right click there and do unpivot other columns. Now you see what has happened is the years data which was there, like wherever the values were entered, right? It was in the column format. Now it has all come up and assimilated in one single place. Like Andhra Pradesh, there are 3 years of data. Horizontally, I'm able to see it vertically. Now, similarly here, I'm going to right click on the first column, unpivot other columns. I'm repeating this step, unpivot other columns. Yeah, I hope you're all following what I'm showing you and you're actually doing this because this is very simple. So if you do it now, you will be able to catch on with Power BI very quickly. All right. So here I can see that the years are mentioned very clearly, 2017 to 18. This is a very simple format. All the years are in this format mostly. But when I come to this sheet, there are some text initials also enter. So what is going to happen is when I'm trying to build a model between these two data sets, Power BI will get confused. Remember, I said it's like a child, it will get confused because here it is showing as 2017-18, but when I come here, it is coming as actual, revised. It will not know how to connect the data. Okay, so we need to remove these words from here. How do we do that? Click on any cell, like the first cell, actual, replace values. Go on the ribbon and click on replace values. We are going to replace this. We are simply going to remove the years from here because I am going to replace the space and everything else with blank. That's it. Nothing will be there. So now wherever actual was written, it has disappeared. Now only the years are reflecting. Simply the digits are getting reflected here. Similarly, I will do it for the other two names also. I'm going to remove the digit. There are no spaces. Otherwise, again, it will not connect the data. And quickly, I'm doing this for the last thing as well. Okay. Now, when I come here, I see that, let me read the column names also. Here, the program names are given, and here, the values are given, right? Now, this is not indicating what that actually is. So I'm going to quickly rename it program. And I'll call this enrollment. This is all a part of processing of a data set. I'm going to rename this as year and expenditure because this is the expenditure data. Almost through. Now we will apply the changes and we will close the window. It takes a while. Yeah. So now if I want to see whether the changes have been applied or not, I will go to the left side, left pane, click on table view. Now you see on the right side, it is reflecting all the sheet. Remember, we originally had only 3 sheets, but then we added 2 sheets for the unpivoted column. So I quickly click on this and I see that yes, all the changes are now reflecting. Okay, now the pre-processing part is done, or rather the processing part is done. Now, another thing that I observe, now the primary thing that Power BI does is create visuals, like I told you, graphs, bar charts, pie charts, line graphs. Now, anybody who has done this kind of visualization, simple visualization also in the past, they would know that sometimes we add 2 trend lines in a single visual. That means it looks like, like there are 2 lines in a single visual showing the trend of 2 different variables, right? What if one of those variables is in measure like millions and the other one is in measures like less than 10? Then it is very difficult to plot them together in a graph, right? Because how will the graph show something that is in tens, less than 10, and also in millions? So I need to do something called a data normalization. Anybody who is from economics background would know what is normalization. We normalize the data to bring them at par with each other. That means the scale becomes condensed or measurable to a comparable extent. That is called normalization of data. This is again a part of processing. Why am I doing that? Because when I come to enrollment, I see that the number is in 4 digits, maximum 4 digits. It's not going beyond 4 digits. But when I come here, I can see it is going beyond 7 digits also some places. Expenditure is very high in some cases, more than 2 million. So when I want to plot it in a graph, how will it connect these two things? So I'm going to normalize We go home and then again click on, sorry. We go to the table view. We just click on the table view of expenditure sheet. That's it. Right? And here add a new column. Click on new column option here, right? And here it's asking, what do you want to add? This is going to be a formula. Anything that comes here in this bar, just like Excel is a formula. In normalized form, I'm going to condense it by 4 digits. Is equals unpivoted. Now, please notice what I'm doing here. I have entered the variable name, the column name that I want to create, gave a space. This is nothing but the name. This whole thing is a name. After space, give equal to. Now I start entering the name of the column and the sheet because I want to pinpoint the location of that exact column to Power BI. It is in expenditure. What do I want to do with this column? This column. It has located that, okay, your column is in unpivoted sheet. That means this sheet. And the column name is expenditure, which I have here. I'm going to divide it by 1 lakh. Sorry, 10,000, 4 zeros, right? I'm condensing it by 4 zeros. Normalized data column for expenditure. It is still not as, I would say, as good as I want it to be, but okay, I can make do with it. There is a different way also of plotting this in a graph. We will see that after we create a visual with this kind of process. All right, sorry, data column for the normalized expenditure. Now, what I'm going to do is next step is I start building a relationship between my data. Okay. For that, you click on the third icon in the left pane. It says model view. Please click on that. When you click on model view, because we have 3 sheets, the 3 boxes like this are going to open. I right click on the middle box and I click on manage relationships. Now automatically 3 sheets are showing because it can link. I imported them together from the same file, right? So somewhere there is already a relationship between them, but I need to define that relationship. So I create a new relationship. You have to click on new relationship table. You want to create it. I create a relationship between unpivoted because there is no existing relationship. This is something that I added after importing a data set. So I'm going to create a relationship in my model between this and this. You're not going to change anything here, and you will simply click on save button here. And then close. Now the model has been built. That means whenever I want to infer something, then Power BI can connect these two things, unpivoted expenditure sheet and unpivoted enrollment sheet, which it couldn't do earlier. Okay. This is called model building. It's important to build models because when you are creating visuals or when you are creating some kind of patterns in your data, the application which you are using has to know that these two variables are connected. Like I said, Power BI doesn't automatically connect. Like in SPSS, we do some advanced testing, correlation, and we even in Python, we tell them that these are the variables. This is how you need to connect them. What is the cause? What is the effect? In Power BI, we do not have such test. We have some kind of test and we have DAX modeling, but this is an easier way to build a relationship between different data sets in Power BI. So that is the importance of model building in Power BI. Next, now we come to the main part, which is visualization. That means I want to start creating visuals from the data which I had, that is the government report. How do I do that? We go to report view on the left side. Okay. In the right side, we have a lot of attractive options because there are a lot of graphs which we don't have in Excel. Right? We don't have a matrix. So I like playing with different kind of, I like experimenting it, and I'm sure you will love it too. So whenever you have a data set that you want to explore, then please use all the types of graphs that you can, because they're simple to build. All right, I'm going to start with something very so in the build visual pane that you have here. This is called the right pane, right? So you click on the line chart icon. Now it is showing a very small one because generally people, what they do is they generate 4 to 5 graphs on the same window. So I don't want to create multiple graphs in this window. So I'm going to drag it and I'm going to enlarge it. You can also do that as I'm showing it to you. All right. Now it's asking what comes in the x-axis and what comes in the y-axis. We are only concerned with the unpivoted sheets. Remember that in the original master data sets, the years and the columns and the rows were misaligned. So I'm not going to use these at all. I'm going to stick to my unpivoted sheets, the data which I have processed in Power BI. Okay. Let's say I want to show a line graph of expenditure, normalize the data. Why? Because if I use the original expenditure, let me show you quickly. One more point here, I forgot to say, there are 2 different years, right? So when I'm building a visual on Power BI, now this column, this variable name is duplicated. I can use either one of them, right? You might probably say ki koi bhi le lo, it doesn't matter which one I'm taking up, but it matters. You have to take the year. If the years are uneven, like in our data set, let me go back there quickly and show you. In our data set, the number of years that we have taken the data for are different. In enrollment sheet, the data is beginning from 2017 and it goes up to 22. But when I come to expenditure, the data is beginning from 2019. That means 2 year data is missing here. So if I select data of 2017 onwards, a part of my data set will remain blank. I don't want to waste that space. So I'm going to select the year wherever the later data is so that the common values can be obtained from the data set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the original expenditure, not the new created column, to my y-axis. The year for expenditure comes in my x-axis and the enrollment also comes in the y-axis. Now you see this is looking flat. I hope you're all able to see, read the initials here. The dark blue line is the count of enrollment. Okay. Whereas I can change it. I can put it. Yeah. Whereas this one is the sum of expenditure. Now this line is looking flat as compared to this because the scale is vastly different. The measurement unit is very different. They're both in numbers, of course, but one is in millions and the other is in 4 digits, right? That's why I'm not going to take enrollment expenditure. I'm going to take normalized expenditure. Just give me a minute. Taking this again and normalized expenditure. Okay, it's taking the count of expenditure for some reason, which I must change. Count of enrollment. Hmm. My visual is taking up count of enrollment, whereas it should be taking the sum of enrollment. So I'm not sure why that is happening in my this thing. Let me bring it to secondary y-axis. Again, it's taking the count of enrollment. So what is count of enrollment? When I say count of enrollment, it means in this, you see, for each year, there are 4 entries. There is undergraduate male, female, postgrad male, and postgrad female. So count means that it is considering 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is why in this visual, all the numbers here are 4. My graph is not turning out perfect. It should be taking the sum of enrollment rather than the count of enrollment. So let me see if I can troubleshoot this. So this happens a lot when we are working on this kind of data. Let me see if I have changed the type. Okay, the type is not specified here. Maybe this is probably the problem. I'm going to close and apply the changes and build a visual again. Going to report view and let me create the visual once again. Here comes in the x-axis, expenditure comes in the y-axis, and enrollment also. Yeah. So now I have the correct figure. See, this is why it is very important to change the data type. I just lost 5 minutes of my time because of this small error. डेटा टाइप मैंने चेंज नहीं किया था इट हैड नॉट बीन एबल टू इट वाज नॉट एबल टू recognize identify whether it is in numbers format or text format. So the moment I change the data type, my visual is now coming out properly. Now even though I am able to see that there is a downward trend in enrollment, and I can say, sorry, downward trend in expenditure. See, sum of expenditure is the light blue one, and enrollment is fluctuating. I am not happy because it is still not, as accurate which I want to be. It is syndicating the trend, no doubt, it's doing its job. But I want to see if I can slightly make this better. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to drag enrollment and make it my secondary y-axis. So what has happened now is Power BI has created 2 separate scales. You see, on the left side, there is a scale for enrollment data, which is in 4 digits. And on the right side, we have the expenditure data, which is going to be in millions of units, right? So now it has taken up the data correctly, and now it is showing me the proper trend for each of them independently. What am I able to deduce from this? It's that uh, the sum of enrollment, it's fluctuating. Now, in the first year, I can see that there is a similar trend. So they are probably correlated. I mean, positive correlation is nothing but the data is interconnected and moving towards the same direction. I can see that both of them, both these things have been falling for the first year. Second year, the trend for enrollment pivoted, is shot up. That probably happened. I can't pinpoint the reason, but I can estimate that maybe this happened because of COVID. There might have been a downturn during COVID, and after COVID is shot up, right? Maybe that happened. But in case of expenditure, it just kept falling. That means the government disbursed less amount for expenditure. Now I can understand the trend from my Power BI visual, but is it enough for me to deduce any pattern here? It's not. Nothing is conclusive from this graph. So I go on and create another visual. What do I do? I can show you another example. Let's say I want to build. I'm going to show you a new feature called how to create a new measure with this one. We have, let's see if we can create a pie chart here. I want to fish around with my data set a little bit more. So I'm going to see if my pie chart can give me more insights, right? Now, program-wise enrollment. Values are going to be enrollment, and program will be the legend. Now I can see here that of all the programs, all the enrollments that I got for a specific year or different year, just taking up the sum, by the way. If you remember, we have different years of data. 15, we have 17, 18, we have 18, 19, we have 19, 20, 20, 21, 20, 21, 22. Now, but here the pie chart is a single one. That's because it is adding up all these numbers and showing me the trend here. So when I add up all the numbers, I can see that undergraduate males are the most enrolled numbers in my specific years in India, which is followed by undergrad female. Compared to that, postgrad males and postgrad females are somewhat less. That means people, maybe they give up education after their graduation. Many people do that, right? So this is giving me one insight, another insight that I can probably build upon. Like, why does the enrollment drop from undergrad to postgrad? Maybe I can build up a research on this kind of topic, exploring all the different reasons why enrollment drops as in the age of a person progresses. This is how you create a pie chart in Power BI. So this is the second insight which I can derive from my data set. Now, let me go back to the first column because first report, because I want to show you how to create something called as a new measure. What is a new measure? If you remember, I told you Excel, Power BI does some calculations on the back end so that you can input data from it on the fly or as you go. If you don't need it, you discard it simply. It is columns. So how do we create a new measure? There is one more thing, and please don't get confused while using Power BI. One is creating a new measure and another is creating a new column. What we did earlier was create a new column. If you remember, I entered a formula and Power BI took my command and it understood that I want to probably derive very high level insights from it. So it created a new column, right? And it took my information, it fed that information to its own data set and it showed me the normalized data. But if I don't want any changes to my data set and I just want to, but I still want to make the calculation and keep it at the back end somewhere, I will go to create a new measure. Now here I'm going to create a new measure for my sheet, unpivoted expenditure. Remember, all the changes that we are doing right now is on unpivoted sheets only. You click on that on the right pane and click on new measure. What are we measuring? What are we trying to do here? Again, same way it is asking for the variable name. What do you want to calculate? What are you trying to measure here? I'm going to say that I'm trying to measure maybe per student expenditure. Enrollment is fluctuating, it's dropping and then rising. Expenditure is dropping consistently. Now, when enrollment was dropping and expenditure was also dropping on a downward slope, right? Did it mean that government spent more money per student in scholarships? It could be possible, right? It could be. And does it mean, on the other hand, does it mean that when the enrollment rises, is the government spending less money per student? Is it having any impact on the enrollments? So I'm going to create a new measure to check how much the government is spending per student. For that, I'm entering the variable name. You can change it as you want. Space equals. Now what we are doing is to measure, that means it is calculating. Remember sum and count. Count means it is going to only count how many cells are there. But sum means it is going to add up the values inside the cells. So we are going to type that we are looking for sum. We can, by the way, there are different formulae. Divide is div, or then we have average, AG, or AVERAGE, right? So we have different kinds of commands, DAX commands in Power BI. I'm showing you a very simple one of sum. Okay, what are we trying to sum here? I'm going to sum. Again, I'm going to unpivoted sheet, not the main sheet. I sometimes get confused myself. So I'm going to enter the most important criteria, which is I'm looking for unpivoted sheets. I'm going to sum up the total expenditure of enrollment. Yeah, close the bracket and enter. Okay, I think I missed the bracket here. Okay, now a new measure has been created here. How do I know? Come to the right pane, it will show a small calculator icon. That means it's a measure. So when you go to your sheet, nothing will change over there. See, I have added a new measure for expenditure per student, but there is no change over here. My sheet is still the same. There is no new column added here because I just added one measure here. Now let me come to this graph and see if adding the expenditure per student will show me any new insights. Per student expenditure is again stable for 1 year and then it starts dropping. You see here? So what can I deduce from this? It's that maybe for the first year, the expenditure per student remained the same, more or less the same, and then it started dropping. So can I build a relationship between all these three variables? Not yet. I still have to add more to my data to come up with a very solid hypothesis. Okay, so there are a couple of few more visuals which I would like to show you. One is a matrix. I like a matrix, which is one of my favorites. On the right pane, you have an option of matrix. Just click on that. enlarge this, and now we need to start feeding it with data. Let's say I want to show the years in the columns. I want to show the state in rows, and I want to show expenditure in values. Now it has created nothing but the table in the form of a visual. So if I don't have enough space to create an entire column, create an entire table on Excel and paste it in my report, I can simply create this matrix, simply reflect that, and then show it in my graph. Now I'll try to add a filter, a slicer here, although, or you can even add a filter in that case, I think. Let's add a slicer. Yeah. So what I've done is I've added a slicer, and yeah, in this case, the slicer is not really working because we don't have enough data. So I'm going to remove the slicer. And I'm just going to keep it a simple matrix. That's all. I need to add the year again in the columns. Now you can even format this visual however you want it. Go to format, and maybe you want to format the values. Give it a different background color. Let's say purple. It changes the alternate background color. Or say you want to change the background color of the total column, make it lighter, or, or maybe blue. Let's see blue. So this is where you format it anyhow you want it. Then you have general also, like changing the title. I want to add the title. So I keep the title on. And then we have effects. All right. Now let's build something called as card. Now when we want one of the main reasons of using Power BI is to create interactive dashboards. Means one pane where we are able to see all the key figures of or whatever you want. Like if you have a marketing report. Now in marketing, there are several elements. There could be social media reviews. So in marketing, there are different kinds of is doing in marketing, right? So if I want to sit and examine each and every one of it, it becomes very time consuming for me. So instead of that, what I will do is I'll create an interactive dashboards where the numbers automatically get imported in a very simple way. So how we do that is we go here and insert a card. Now it's a blank card. I can enter the key numbers that I'm looking for. Let's say enrollment. So here the sum of enrollment has come. Now this is not showing anything. Like it's not showing year-wise enrollment. It is not showing territory-wise enrollment, level-wise enrollment, nothing. It's just simply showing me total enrollment. So if I know what years of data I have, like in my case, I know that the years of enrollment data is 2017 to 2022. I simply need to create a card and drag it here. Likewise, if I want to create a card for expenditure, total expenditure, how much has the government spent in 3 years? I simply need to drag it to expenditure. Matlab, cumulatively, my government on scholarships in 3 years, right? Now, lastly, there is one more important visual which I would like to show you. It is a scatter plot. To create a scatter plot, select the scatter plot icon. Now here is where I probably can hope to make a decision, because scatter plot is not just a visual. It can also be used to build relationship between two variables, like correlation. It works like correlation. So when you plot correlation on a graph, scatter plot is how it turns out to be, right? Most of the times. So even though all the visuals that I have created have given me some insights, I feel it is not enough for me to make a decision on what my research problem is going to be. So what I will do is I'll try to build a relationship between these two elements, which is enrollment and expenditure, and hope that I have enough information to come up with a hypothesis or a research problem. So I will build a scatter plot, and I select unpivoted expenditure on the x-axis, because this is going to be my independent variable. And let's say I'm trying to see if this has any impact on the enrollment, which becomes my y-axis. Now there is a single point here. So if I want to examine this more clearly, but I have not added the legend, it has to be as per the year of expenditure. Yeah, now I have different points depending on the years of data. So I go here, and now I add, please click on the microscope icon that you see here. And then the first option you see is a trend line. Click on that. So now Power BI or this visual has generated a trend line for me. It is showing the direction of the relationship between these two things. Now it is downward slope. Simply put, a downward slope means there is a negative correlation between the two drops. Could that be the case that when expenditure on scholarships increases, the enrollment is dropping? Can it happen? Because generally we see it as a positive thing, right? If the government is spending more on expending, I mean, it has more expenditure on scholarship. The data is showing something different. So there is definitely a underlying problem here that has not been explored, or that must be explored in literature, in research. So maybe I can come up with a hypothesis that why this relationship is negative. What are the causes for decreasing enrollment when the expenditure on scholarships is increasing? Is it because the message is not reaching the students effectively? Is it possible that expenditure is increasing? Universities are getting more funds, but are the students not receiving that information? Maybe that's why the enrollment is decreasing. Or could it be because it is not reaching the right people? Maybe the universities are getting the funds, but it is not being disbursed to the students on time. Maybe they are not getting the benefits of the scholarship. Could it be that? Or does it mean something else? Was it because of COVID that something like this has happened? So whatever the possible reasons for this kind of a trend, it needs further examination. Now, I can try and see if some factors affect this relationship. Like say if I drag program, right? And I bring it to my x-axis. Okay, let me try to do that again. Okay, there seems to be one issue which because of which I'm not able to edit my visual. There is some error in Power BI, but I basically wanted to see if adding program to my graph changes the trend or gives me any other or new insight. That's why I was trying to drag program to the x-axis. But basically, now I think I have enough input to deduce a trend or to come up with a good hypothesis, right? So this is how I have made use of the data which I have. That is a simple ministry report to come up with a solid problem in my hand. This is how, and this is only on the surface. Power BI can do much more than this. There is something called as complex DAX modeling. The sum which I have showed you, or the formulae which I have showed you, are based on simple sum. But there are complex issues and complex formulae also, which can be done using Power BI. And it's much simpler than entering a code on Python. Of course, Python has its own benefits, its own set of purposes, right? We're not going to compare Power BI and Python. It is Power BI is used mainly for visualization, creating dashboards. Python is used for advanced data analytics. But when we by nature and we still want a decent level of analysis to be performed, that a informative report can be created out of the data which I have, I think Power BI is the go-to website today. If I don't have any primary data, I have secondary data like the data which I have showed you. How do I make use of applications which I have to come up with a solid visual or a solid report or a research problem? So this is one of the critical methods of doing that. Now, since I have not shown you the other formulae, I would like to show you a page where you can access those formulae on our system. I have already published many articles on different purposes of Power BI. So I will quickly walk you through the page so that anybody who wants to learn more, maybe you are intrigued by Power BI, maybe you have a data set you would like to explore further, and you would want to go beyond what I have showed you in today's session, you can try to learn it by yourself. I have published many articles on Power BI. Some of these are on DAX commands like this one, and some of these are on visualization, pre-processing, right? And different DAX commands here, time intelligence. So you can probably read some of these articles to learn how to use Power BI or advanced level of analytics on Power BI. There are also videos for some people who don't like to read articles. Maybe they can go through the videos only. And yeah, I think now we are ready to take question and answer. Although we are running out of time, I'll just take 5 more minutes. I would like to take your questions. Some people who want to ask questions. I will also open the chat box and see. Where is the data set? Ma'am, replace दोबारा बताइए. Okay, I will show you this once again. Some are asking whether Power BI can work on MacBook. No, it cannot perform efficiently on MacBook. I'm really sorry. Power BI can only be used on Windows systems. It's a sad thing, but unfortunately, that's what it is. I have myself faced a lot of issues because of this, but sorry, it can only be used on Microsoft systems. I'm going to show you replace once again. Ma'am, define value as numeric. Yes. Yes, thank you. That was the problem that we were facing earlier. I did not define it as whole number. That is why it did not happen. You can't add text variable. That's right. And the x-axis of the scatter diagram. Uh, let's see. We have a scatter diagram here. Do we have a text variable? Yeah, we have program as a text variable. Okay, let's see if I can replace it with expenditure per student, which is a measure. It's all mismatched, so I cannot. No, I had generated this earlier and I was able to be wrong about this. I could be wrong. Let me quickly just check what the issue is. Does anybody have any other question? You can raise your hand and Gaurav sir will unmute you. I can take some questions in the meantime if you have any. Okay, so programs had come in values. So what happens if I add it in values? Yeah, the trend is slightly changing. I can see that it's stabilizing a little bit. So you were right. I did not select it in the appropriate option. I was supposed to select it in the values field, and I had taken it in I was trying to take it in the x-axis field. So, so this is giving me a different inference now. I can see that there is it's not going towards positive, but it's not that negative either. The correlation is not that negative either. When I apply the field of program here, but it's not conclusive because program does not give me any real information. Which program am I talking about? And why does adding program to this data set negative to, I would say neutral, somewhere neither positive nor negative. So how does program make, or maybe I could come up with a new research problem that adds the element of program type and say for different programs, the relationship is different. I could explore that also in my research. So with one single data set, three simple tables, I was able to come more with my primary research, right? So yeah, is that all? No, there is, I do not think it needs the profession or industry account. If you are logged into your Microsoft account on your system, you should be able to download and install it. Transformation on data, change the columns and type. Okay, I will show you two things. Replacement and transformation. Sir, I need just one more minute. Okay, was the first thing. Yeah. So to change the data type, I need to go to transform data. I will right click here. You have to click on the column name and then change type. Select the one which you want. Like in our case, we needed a whole number, so I have selected that one. The second query was about replace. Thank you so much, Dr. Rain. Replace दोबारा बताइए. Okay, replace as in I'm trying to understand which replace you're talking about. Okay, I think it was the year replacement, right? Okay, let me quickly duplicate one sheet for you. Okay, I'm going to duplicate it just for this purpose. Okay, so here we are. Now what we are trying to replace is actual, revised estimate and budget estimate. I just wanted to reflect the year and not the text. So first I've pivoted this sheet. Let me duplicate the unpivoted sheet, but it's already changed here. No
Ma'am, please
worries.
share the
I'm
screen.
going to unpivot this.
Yeah, ma'am, please share the
Oh,
screen.
so whatever commands or actions I've showed you is all messed up. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm replacing the year here with and keeping just the years. I'm going to remove the text here. So what I did was I duplicated the sheet. Now I'm going to follow the same process. I'm going to unpivot the other columns first. Okay. Now this is the words I need to replace. So I click on the cell. I click on replace values. Here, this is a very good question. I think this is why people are confused. This is because I'm trying to replace the text with nothing here. मतलब I'm just removing the year because मुझे year को नहीं छेड़ना है. I'm not trying to replace the year. I'm just trying to replace the text here with and clicking on OK. So it has found wherever that actual was written inside the blank, inside the bracket, that has been replaced with nothing. Nothing is there now. I do that simply for the other two columns or other two names also. So I just remove the years, retain this because it is going to find this in all the cells and it is going to replace it with nothing. Similarly, here also. That's it. Do we have any other question? Yeah. Do we have any other questions here? Ma'am, what is the issue you're facing? Maybe we can replace नहीं हो रहा है. Okay, can you show a image of what error you are facing, or maybe we can connect on one on one personally, and then we can try to work it out because I'm sure the next session is waiting to begin. We are already out of time, but you can connect with me. I'm going to put up my number here so that you can connect with me if you need to get in touch. Yeah. So please WhatsApp me if you, if you're still not able to figure it out. Yeah. So I hope my session was very helpful for all of you. If you have any further assistance you need with Power BI, don't forget to check out all the articles I have. All the resources are already there. You can use the same data set which you have to experiment with other functions of Power BI. Yeah. Thank you so much for attending the session.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, for
Thank you so much.
sharing valuable knowledge with the participants. Now, next session, the topic of the next session is information security, and we have Mr. Rohit Singh with us, who will be taking this session. Mr. Rohit Singh is a seasoned information security and AML consulting professional with more than 8 years of experience working in Asia, North America, and Europe. Currently working as a senior technical analyst at Scotia Bank, he has previously worked for IBM Canada, AML RightSource, and Royal Bank of Scotland. Rohit helps the community by mentoring students and newcomers in Canada to achieve their goals faster by guiding them through guest lectures and seminars. In free time, Rohit likes to attend networking events and spend quality time with family. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Rohit Singh to take the session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so mic is working now. Hello, good evening, everyone. So my name is Rohit Singh. Let me just start by sharing the screen so that we can see the presentation. Uh, So I've just sent the request to share the screen. Oh, okay, I got it. Thank you. So, okay. So, good evening, everyone, to this session. So, my name is Rohit Singh, and I work as a senior technical analyst in Scotia. So I'm doing this session on information security, and I have tailored it to the people who are working in academia, research, and industry so that you can be aware of what kind of threats and what kind of technologies are we using in our information security space, and how we are tackling the new world challenges there, and what are the things which would be required to do in future so that we can have more robust cybersecurity infrastructure in place for all the organizations, because everybody knows that cyber threat actors are acting up, and they are trying to get all the information they can. So there are a lot of black hat hackers who are trying to get your information from dark web. So a lot of information is available there. So it is sometimes encrypted, sometimes not. So you have to be very careful where you put in information, what links you click on. So like recently, we had a email which came out to us, which looked so perfectly aligned that you were not able to see like it is from a malicious actor. So we always get like these kind of emails to see how we would respond in a real world situation, like if we get something from external. So these kind of things are there, and I think this is very important for each and every person to learn. So let me just start with a little bio. So I did my computer science engineering from India, and I have 8+ years of experience in anti-money laundering operations, and then business analysis and identity and access management in cybersecurity. So I'm currently working as senior technical analyst at Scotiabank in global identity and access management department of cybersecurity. So for education, I did my computer science engineering, and then I did MBA in marketing and international business. Then, when I migrated to Canada, I completed my cybersecurity course from York University. So it was a basic as well as an advanced course. And then, side by side, I also did a executive management course from Rotman School of Management, which comes under University of Toronto. So these two courses which I did here helped me a lot in getting the jobs. And last but not the least, this last thing, CompTIA Security Plus certification, although this is the starting certification for cybersecurity, but like it is highly regarded because it requires a lot of information, like uh, what do you know about uh, various attacks and whatnot. So how many types of ransomwares are there, what kind of codes are required. So once I cleared this opened a lot of doors and cleared a lot of my doubts regarding the cybersecurity principles and techniques. Now I'm working towards the CISM certification. So this is one of the high level certification, or like the middle management certification. So these would be some of the things which I would be talking about. So introduction, and then current trends in information and security, then innovations and some of the solutions which are being used right now, some of the challenges we are being faced with, use cases, and then best practices, and then what future holds for us. So let's start. So the first thing is, what is information security? So information is everywhere, and it is the practice of protecting sensitive information from unauthorized access, use, or destruction. So it includes tools and processes for preventing, detecting, and responding to threats. So there are a lot of things. Like it's not just like you will protect the password and that would be it. There are a lot of things, like sometimes you have to get a code on your phone to put in the software so that you can log in. So there are multiple things which all the people are using, which we will talk about in the coming slides. So these are now a very basic practice which is there in all the companies, because threats are rising, so we have to adapt to the modern threats. So The goal of information security is to ensure these three things. So this is what textbook teaches us, and this is what we follow in all the principles, all the software. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality is only available to those with proper authorization. So the data or whatever access is there, it should be only available to the people with proper authorization. So one of the things by which we do this is role-based access. So what we do is like whatever role you go on, we provide access according to that. So we have created a list of access 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you come as an analyst, so we will add you to that analyst role and you will get only that amount of access which is required by that analyst role and not a single inch more, because we have to follow some principles like principle of least privilege. That means that you have to use least amount of information. So these are some of the keywords which are there in the cyber security space. So you might need to dig deeper on these. So these are very common here. Then the next thing is integrity. So integrity means that data should not be compromised. It should be accurate, consistent, and trustworthy, so that when we are using it to deduce conclusions, or a software is using it and aggregating it to get the required data from it, so it should not have any foreign interference. So what we do for integrity is we try to send encrypted file along with the regular file. So what that does is that first that encrypted file is checked to see if it matches with what we get from the encryption, and then we use the data. If that file is not matching, the data is discarded and there is error. So that is how we use integrity. There might be multiple ways, but that is how we enforce this integrity principle. So the next thing is availability. So availability is easy access to authorized users. So if you are authorized, you should have access even if there is a failure. So what this means is like if you have one server, you should have a backup. So if I have it, the data or the software access should be given all the time. So if you are not able to access, that is always an issue. And so these are the three things which make us do our work properly and diligently. So let me go to the next slide, and I will take some questions at the end. Thank you. So current trends in information security. So first one is ransomware. So everybody must have heard about it. A lot of companies are getting hit by ransomware. Recently, my university also got hit. So York University got hit by ransomware attack, and a lot of companies are being hit. Still, people don't know how to deal with these attacks, and then they end up paying a large amount of money. So what is ransomware? So it is a malicious software that encrypts data and demands a ransom payment. So ransomware attacks can cause significant damage to data and disrupt operations. So it can disrupt operations, it can cause damage to data, and then if this kind of thing happens, you get a lot of regulatory bodies on your company, and then you have to deal with them as well. Like what would be the controls which are used. So you have to be better prepared for these ransomware attacks, because you have to be proactive in these kind of things. You cannot, once this happens, there would not be room for any negotiation. So you would have to be better prepared for that. So the next thing is phishing attacks. So phishing attacks are a social engineering attack that involves stealing user data, credit card numbers, login credentials. So they will send you an email like this is very common practice on the phones. Like your account has been credited with XYZ amount of rupees, and then you have to click on this link to claim it. So once you click on the link and you enter your details, they will get your details and they will try to get more of the things for you from you, and that would be not beneficial for you. So this is how phishing attacks work. So now they have been very diligent with it. Now they can make the email or the SMS sound like it is exactly genuine. So you have to be very vigilant about that, because a lot of people are losing a lot of money due to these phishing attacks. Then the next thing is insider threats. So, accidental breaches caused by negligence or unintentional actions, such as opening a phishing email or downloading malicious content. So, what happens is that there are people who would be working in your organization with you. So, they might unintentionally or intentionally, they might be able to, they might click on a link and then the link will get their data, or they will encrypt their system. So what will you do in these cases? So these are some of the insider threats which are there in a company, and this is not that big, but because when people hire another people, they have there need to be a trust, because this is a very high level job, and like you have to have clearance and whatnot to work in cybersecurity space. So they check you a lot, like your background check. Once you work in cybersecurity or doing any kind of research, you need details. The companies check your background very clearly, because this is very sensitive information from the company. So insider threats are not that common, but they do occur sometimes, and you should be prepared for those as well. So the next thing is Internet of Things. So what is Internet of Things? So it is recently becoming popular. Like, it has been popular for a long time, but we are still trying to learn about what Internet of Things is. So as more and more devices are connected to the internet, they become potential entry points for attackers. Like, I have a Amazon Alexa, and then I have a Google one. They both connect with each other, and then they connect with other systems as well. Like, they are connected with my smart vacuum cleaner. They are connected with my refrigerator. So if I give a command, they do exactly what I say. If you connect them to your smart bulb, so it will automatically start when you give the command. So this opens more attack points. So if somebody is searching for uh, these attack points, they would be able to find those. And since we have I think we have still not done that much research in IoT space in terms of cybersecurity, we are not able to safeguard these properly right now. But like, research is going on, and this might be a use case for you guys. So the next thing is AI and machine learning. So this is a fairly new and advanced topic here. So while AI and machine learning can aid attackers, they can also be used to automate cybersecurity attacks. So what this means is, like, attackers can also use these kind of things, and now we see that attackers are not alone. Like, earlier we used to see like single person sitting in a room and they are working on their machine and they are getting data and whatnot, but not now. Like, now they have like proper teams, and they have big servers. They have very heavily enforced teams, so they use all kind of resources to get a lot of information and to get the maximum power they can to steal most amount of data. So that is what they do. So AI can aid these attackers as well, because they also have access to technology. So what we as a organization or as a cybersecurity professional are doing are, we have to be one step ahead. So what we are doing is, like, in one of our software, when we are governing all the identities for all the applications, we are trying to automate that process. So what that will mean is that that will remove the manual part of it, and then also AI would be there. If previous it will tell us like how many previous requests have been accepted, uh, which belong to this kind of category, and that will help the software take an informed decision. So that will give us like what percentage of these kind of use cases we can approve, or these kind of identities we can approve. So this kind of thing is there, and AI can help us make some informed decisions based on the previous data. So that is what we are using it for now. Then next thing is zero trust architecture. So a cybersecurity model that assumes that there should be no automatic trust in anything. So we just don't give access just like that. Like, if you are a director or a VP in an organization, you don't get automatic access to anything. So there are approvals and approvals in place, there are changes in place. You have to get all the right approvals, because if the data is leaked or there is some information which is not required to you and audit is there, and if there is audit by the watchdogs which are watching your company, like senior cybersecurity uh, uh, cybersecurity institutions, so then it would be a fine for you, and it is not like a regular fine. Sometimes they fine people in billions of dollars, so you have to use all these things to your advantage. So that is why like companies have like an internal audit team, so that they check themselves regularly, so that when the external auditors come, they don't find anything. So that is what we try to achieve in the zero trust architecture. So this is very basic information, because there is a lot of content we need to cover. So if you need more information, please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, and I would be happy to provide more on there. So there is one more, that is multi-factor authentication. So this is very important right now, because just a user ID and password is a thing of the past. It is not at all secure now. So everybody has moved to the MFA. So it is an extra layer of protection that requires user to provide multiple form of authentication. So it might be like you put in a user ID password, then you put in your biometric, or user ID password face ID. So that can be also multi-factor authentication, and user ID password, and then you get a token on your phone, and then you input that, then you get access. So these are some of the things which are there. So there are more things, but these were some of the very important ones. So some of the things which are still being worked on are the rise of quantum computing. So quantum computing is on the rise, and people are trying to use that for cybersecurity operations as well, like cryptography, and then they try to uh, hatch like various attacks on a normal computer to see how long it takes for a quantum computer to crack it. So those kind of things. And then enhanced focus on mobile security. So mobile security is right now, mobiles are there a lot. So that is why you have to deal a lot. Everybody has a lot of data on the mobile. So we have to be very proactive about that. Then the next thing is cybersecurity skills gap. So people want to work in cybersecurity. They want to know what is cybersecurity. They still think that it is just hacking. No, there are a lot of things in cybersecurity, and if you are vigilant, and if you gain proper expertise, like there is operations management, there is vendor management, cybersecurity, third party management, then identity and access management, you have vulnerability management. So there are a lot of things, and you should go properly step by step, so that you can get more details. So people don't know how to move forward. That is why this skill gap still exists there. Then blockchain and cybersecurity. So we will talk about this a little later. And then cybersecurity insurance becoming mainstream. So right now, what is happening is that these ransomware attacks have become pretty common. So what is happening is that cybersecurity insurance is being taken by people, which helps them in case of these attacks. They cover the cost of paying to these malicious actors. It is the cost depends upon how big your organization is, and how many controls you have put in place. So that is there, but like it is becoming mainstream all of a sudden. And after COVID, this has seen a boom in it. So I have seen a lot of companies here in Canada who work with cybersecurity insurance. So the next thing is innovations and solutions. So what are some of the innovations and solutions? So first thing is blockchain. So we are using blockchain. So it is a complex computational used for multiple use cases, that is it is difficult to crack without proper resources. So we are using blockchain to store our data. We are using it to solve complex problems. So these kind of things are being used. Sometimes DevOps people are using it to store their code. So that is how blockchain is being used in cybersecurity and information security. So these two terms are used hand in hand. So then the next thing is cloud security. So cloud security is becoming very popular these days. So it is nothing but like earlier we used to have like physical servers everywhere we used to go, but now we have most of the things on cloud. Like we still have servers, but we don't have our own server. We are using it from somebody else or renting the space out. So those that place, how do we govern that place? So that is securing the applications or servers, etc. on cloud. So example is Microsoft Entra ID. So if you have like a Microsoft account and when you log in, so you get a token on your phone and then you have to put that and then you log in again after putting in the password. So that is how it works. So cloud security, so you have put in the multi-factor authentication. And then there is SailPoint IIQ software also, which is gaining a lot of momentum. So I work on this particular software and it is also very good for identity governance. The next thing is defensive artificial intelligence with AI camera. So I found this while working. So I this is a fairly new technology where they are find. So this is for the places where a lot of crime is happening. So what they have done is like they have put artificial intelligence in cameras, and these cameras, they track movement of people, and if somebody tries to enter your house, they shoot like small pellets on them, so that to deter these people from entering your house, or any animals which are there, it can deter. So if like you have been to Jim Corbett, like they might use this technology there, so that if there is any animal, so they can move the animal away without hurting them. So just like a small pallet is there and people don't get hurt, they just get deterred and they just leave. So this is what is being used right now. So this is also a part of information security. Then Internet of Things. So again, it is a network of devices that can communicate with each other and exchange data over the internet. So data is being exchanged. You send the command, it goes to that particular thing. So in between, it can be transmitted. So that is what we need to govern. So that is something we have to work on. So the next thing is identity management. So identity management is like managing your user ID, passwords, credentials. So sometimes you have high level passwords like privilege IDs, firewall IDs, what that is what they call, because they have admin level or privilege access. So everything under that purview is the identity management. So controls which are being used in this are SOD. And so I told you about the principle of least privilege, the POLP. So it is like getting minimum amount of access to you so that you can do your work and not an inch more. So if you get more access, that is not required to you. That open doors for malicious actors to use that. So we just want to give the minimum access. And then next is segregation of duties. So SOD policy is the segregation of duties. So what it does is that, like, if I'm an analyst, say if I'm a role, if I'm a loan approver, I should not have access to loan request. So I should not request the loan as well. I should approve. So that is too much access. So I should have access to one of those. So this kind of segregation of duties is there, and it helps us to maintain balance in the access management domain or identity management domain, so that people don't use it to their advantage. So we already talked about quantum cryptography. So it uses quantum mechanics to transmit and encrypt data securely. So we are still in the process of using it, but it is not that popular right now. So now some of the challenges which are there. So skills gap in cybersecurity. So I told you about the skills gap. A lot of people want to work but don't know how to do it. And even if you get some education in that, like you then don't know how to move into cybersecurity, because people say like you should have at least 1 year of experience. How do you do that? So there is a skills gap, and a lot of good companies are there which are so I did this course online for CISSP. It was, I think it was from EduTech. So they provide very good course, and the skills gap was properly filled there. But I don't think a lot of people get these courses. So and these are very expensive as well. So it takes a lot of time and effort and money to get these things. So the next thing is budgetary constraint for for academic institutions. So academic institutions, they have a limited amount of money, like they have a budget and they have to allocate it to a lot of departments. So it sometimes becomes challenging because cybersecurity is a fairly new field, although it has been evolving for a long time, but still like a lot of things are being worked on. So the technologies are very expensive initially, so you have to budget accordingly. And then rapidly evolving technology, so technology evolving rapidly. So earlier we used to use ping federate for identity management, now we are using Microsoft and SailPoint. uh, and earlier for high level accounts we used to use Savient and those kind of software. Now we're using CyberArk. So things are evolving over and over, so we have to evolve with it. So now to address this skill gap, people are trying to learn that, getting certification in that, so budgets are being increased. So that is how we make these challenges into opportunities. And then last is threat actors is getting smaller by the minute or second. So they're getting smarter. If you understand one thing, they try to understand 10 things. You have to be one step smarter than that. So when we get yearly trainings on cybersecurity in our company, so we think that they are not that required, like they are very normal or anything. But they are very important, and they have been very thoughtfully crafted, because threat actors, when they send you the information email and you click on that, like that would be very devastating for the company. Not just on the reputational front, but like money would be there, then it would be havoc. So you have to be pretty smart. So use cases for academia. So what kind of use cases are there for people who work in academics? So research opportunities. So you can work in research opportunity in cybersecurity. So there are like lot of cryptographic solutions. So you can work on cryptography, you can work on vulnerability management. There are always new things to explore, and then new bugs to be found. So you can research your way towards cybersecurity in those things. So like there is identity and access management. So you can work on that. So that is, those are some of the things you can work on. And then training the next generation of cybersecurity experts. So you are the ones who are teaching, you would be teaching to other people. So you should always know what is the current trend, how we are progressing, and like maybe what was the latest attack, so you can talk about them. So people would know like, oh, our teacher knows like this has been recently done, so they also know. So that is pretty amazing. So people connect when you are up to date with your information. So that is how you have to train the next generation. And then collaboration with industry. So this is very important, and collaboration with multiple industries for cybersecurity is important, because the malicious actors or the threat actors who want to access your information for bad things, so they are already collaborating with each other. So why not us? So we have to collaborate with all the industries, so that we can have like a centralized repository for all the information which is required. So those were some of the use cases for academia. Then the next are for the industry. So mostly for the operations industry I am talking about. So investing in cybersecurity tools and R&D. So people are already investing in cybersecurity tools and R&D. So uh, even the governments have understood like it is a very important, and they have started talking about it, and they are putting a lot of effort and money into developing cyber security governance frameworks. And now like even in case of Aadhaar, we have like when you want to log in anywhere through Aadhaar, you get that OTP. So that is something which is called multi-factor authentication. So that is one more way to authenticate you, like yes, you are you. So that is how we are investing in cybersecurity and R&D. And then bridging the skills gap and training initiatives. So in industry also, it is not like only the banks or big institutions needs to understand this. So even small companies also need to understand these things, because uh, if a malicious actor finds out that your company has a weak infrastructure, they will try to hack that, because that would be very easy for them. So sometimes it's not about money, it is also about like just checking to see if you can do it or not. So they are just doing it for fun or something, they will deface the website or whatnot. So you have to have that information so that you don't click on those malicious links, or you don't go on those, like when you click on some website it says not secure, don't go there, because there is some reason like people are saying it is not secure. So please try not going there. So that is there. And then partnership opportunities, so that is like partnership opportunities with other industries, collaboration, so same things with academia, so everybody can work together to achieve. So this is very important topic, so I've put in every use case this, because this partnership is required for being one step ahead of everyone else. Then use cases for the government are, they can make some policies and regulations which would help all the institutions. Like for a car, we have standard airbags should be there. So something like that, like standard MFA should be there. So because that will help a lot. So something like that, if these small changes are done, if these policies are put in place, they can help a lot of people, because uh, MFA helped a lot of, I guess, old people, because they used to not know what to do, and they used to click on the link and lose a lot of money. So every even a small thing which you do in the right direction, it makes a very big difference. So the next thing, also funding and grants for research. So government can provide more funding and grants for research, which would be required for everyone, and then that would be that will help us to understand more about cybersecurity and where we need to focus our research on. And then international collaboration on cyber defense, so not just within India or within states, we can work with international companies as well, so that we can get more information of like what internationally, what level of cybersecurity is there, and what we can do to reach that level, or maybe what we are doing correctly people need to understand, so we can provide them information. So it is give and take, so you give some information, you take some information. That is how it works. So international collaboration is important here. So now we talk about some of the best practices in information security. So first one is the regular risk assessment. So risk assessments are very important nowadays. You might have seen a lot of jobs related to risk manager, risk owners, so those kind of things. So these risks, they are the ones who are calculated on the basis of that CIA I showed you in the first slide. So the CIA, they all have a rating assigned to it. So the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So they have the rating assigned to it as per the bank's risk appetite. And then we calculate a risk score on the basis of that. And then we categorize all the applications which the bank has on the basis of that. And then we work on those. So like we have some of the categorizations, like they are standard, like SOX applications are there. There are registered confidential. You have like CIA applications. So these are some of the risk ratings which are assigned to. So this is how regular risk. So this helps us to understand, like if it is a SOX application, we have a particular criteria. It's need to be governed. So how do we govern it? How much time frame is there? So this is what is mentioned in those risk assessments. So if somebody is not following proper control, it comes out in the risk assessment, and then you have to deal with it or like complete it properly. So the next is incident response planning. So if something occurs, what you will do. So like these kind of teams, they mimic some of the incidents which would be done. So like if there is a ransomware attack, so they do the ransomware attack in a sandbox environment where the attack won't be able to do much damage. It would be in another environment. So what they will do is they will launch the attack there, and they will try to use any way possible to decrypt the information. So that is what they will try to do. So incident response planning. So this is one of the incident. There can be multiple application stops working and people lose access. So availability is not there. How will you deal with that? So something like that. So incident response planning should be better. Then next is proper budget allocation. So budget is very important. Right now I've seen like not a lot of people are agreeing to not put money in cyber security. Like people are well aware of how cyber security is important and they are trying to put money there, but not sure where to put the money. So that is something which people can work upon to see like where we can invest so that we can get proper outcome, because money is there, you just don't know where to put it properly. So the next thing is separate ransomware attack budget if possible. So this is something which I think is something which can be implemented. So if there is a ransomware attack, you should have some money saved, which you can use if the attacker you want to pay the attacker, because it is better to be prepared before rather than you have to get all the money haphazardly. You have to sell stocks or whatnot, so it becomes a hassle. So if you have or you can get the cyber security insurance and they pay for you. So that is what you can do. So these are the two things which you can use. And then the next thing is properly defined identity and access management framework. So from my experience, I have seen that uh, if the malicious attacker gets access to your user ID and password, they will constantly try to put your ID password in a system, and it will constantly try to put in your password to get access, and your account would be blocked and whatnot. So if you have MFA and then if you have any controls in place, so that will not happen and your account might locked after 2 or 3 attempts. So that is how you can govern this thing. So if your identity and access management, so like your ID password, your login credentials, your controls on that, how many people can get access, so those kind of things, if they are properly defined and documented, then you have something to work on. So those are some of the best practices. So now we go to future strategies, what we can, what we are working on in future or what we can work on the future. So importance of adaptive security strategies. So change as you go. So uh, although everybody is doing everything they can, so like some of the basic controls are like privilege access management for high level accounts. Then you have regular accounts like identity and access management. Then you have there is a software called ServiceNow for basic cyber security functions, so that you can track and audit all the requests. And then you have Microsoft Entra ID. So these are the four controls which are very prevalent right now. So if you need any more control, something new comes up, some new attack comes up which nobody knows and how to work on this, so then you can adapt as you go. Don't be resistant to change, you have to adapt as you go, so that you can know more about these future strategies, because malicious actors are adopting, and why not us? So one of the way can be you can learn more about these things, you can get up to date. I try to go into cyber conferences, attend seminars, I try to talk to students, which works a lot in my favor, because they know a lot. And since they are studying, sometimes they tell me something new which I haven't learned before. A lot of new technologies comes up. So that is how you can use adaptive security strategies, so you work as you go. Then the next thing is rise in cyber physical threats. So what cyber physical threats are? There physical element involved in like cutting cable of a network to tamper with it. So somebody cuts a cable of your router and you are not able to access. So something like that. So these are on the rise, and how you will connect with those. Like if you have a server maybe somewhere in remote of Mexico, and then you have not properly secured it and somebody cuts the wire and you are not able to access the data from Mexico, like what will you do? So you have to work on that, like maybe put a barbed wire across it so that nobody uh, is able to touch it, or maybe put it in a cage, Faraday cage or something. So something like that. So you have to work on these, and then building resilient ecosystems. depending upon the cost and risk. So resilient ecosystem, what I talk about is like you have to have a cyber security framework. So it should be uh, like it should have like a proper controls for each and everything. Like I told you about the four controls, so it should have all those four controls and they should be properly defined and documented. If you have those, and then you should find like the how much cost you are willing to spend on it. So you get the budget, you find out like this is the amount of cost, you talk to the vendors. It takes some time, but once you have a properly defined cybersecurity infrastructure, you just need to maintain it, and then it goes on for a long time. You don't need to change it very often. You just need to tweak it a little as per the new threats. But other than that, it works pretty amazing. So if you have a resilient ecosystem, that works wonders for any organization. So these are some of the future strategies. So I think that sums up my presentation, and now I will take some questions. Thank you so much.
If you have any questions, you can write it down in the chat box.
So I just gave you guys a very high level review of what information security infrastructure is there, what kind of things are there, what things you can look out for, and what is required right now. So I think you can work on those things since you are all working in academia, research, and industry. So you can take this back and then make these things understood to your teammates or vendors, because I have seen in some places like there was one incident where a whole company was shut down on the Thanksgiving weekend because there was a vendor who did not log out of his system, the point of sale system, and then all his software got hacked through that system. So you have to be very vigilant in that. So these are some of the things which you work in cybersecurity or information security. So thank you for that. So,
Thank you, Mr. Rohit, for the wonderful session and for enlightening us about the future strategies for cybersecurity. Thank you so much.
thank you.
So now we will be sharing the feedback link of session 2 with everyone in the chat box. Do fill the attendance form as well as feedback form of both the sessions. It is compulsory. Yes, we are sharing it in the chat box. Kindly check the chat box. We have shared the form, Google form. Session 4 feedback form is available in the chat box.
Gaurav sir, I think we can end up the meeting right now, and attendance we will be sharing in the WhatsApp group and email as well.
Okay. So we
Or
will
we
be
can
sharing
hold
the
for,
attendance.
or we can hold for 2 minutes. I'll be sharing the attendance link as well.
Yes, yes. Sure.
Very insightful session, Rohit.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Mike.
much.
Thank you for inviting me, and I will try to work with you in future as well. Thank you,
Sure,
and have a
sure.
great day. Bye
That will be
bye.
a pleasure.
Yes, the assignments or the quiz will be from whatever the resource person are teaching in the class, these sessions. So if you are not a part of the WhatsApp group, we have already shared the WhatsApp group invite on your email. Kindly join the WhatsApp group to receive regular updates regarding the FDP. Attendance form has also been shared in the chat box. You can fill that form. We will be sharing these Google form in the WhatsApp group as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. And tomorrow we'll meet for day 3 for another exciting session with some new expert. Thank you so much. Take care.